Hello, my name is Chancey Boyce. I'm the senior class president here at Monroe High School, and welcome to FYI Monroe High. I've been going to the school for the past 4 years, and I want to make sure that you're more than just comfortable and welcome here. Over the next several videos, we're going to take you inside the school to show you how everything works and to introduce you to a few key staff members who you'll get to know over the next 4 years. Today, we're going to meet our new principal, Mr. Pollzzie. I got to know Mr. Pollzzie during my second year at Monroe High, back when he was the Career and Technical Education Director. Back then it was gospel truth that if you needed something done, all you had to do was ask Mr. Pollzzie, and he would get it done for you. Now that he's our new principal, I believe that he will run our school better than it's ever been run before. So here we are at the Monroe High School football field.
Yes.
It's a nice weather today. A little bit chillier than the hottest day of summer, so that's not too bad.
It's a little overcast.
Yeah, the grass is green. There's the band is playing some nice tunes for us right now.
Yes, they are.
So it's a great time to have an interview out here about the Monroe High athletics. So first of all, I'd like to ask you about football. We just learned recently that football is going to have a season this year, and we're wondering what kind of stipulations there are going to be for our football season.
So, from what I've learned so far, in looking at the executive order, all athletes, whether it be football or soccer or tennis, they have to wear masks.
Yes.
As the Governor Whitmer says, to mask up, so we have to wear masks. And that's, as we're wearing masks right now, it's really tough to breathe. But, athletes will have to train themselves to be able to, to breathe in these masks, which means probably extra conditioning. I know football players do not like conditioning, but there'll be some extra conditioning to get used to the mask so that they can breathe well and perform like they're supposed to. Other stipulations I know, another big one is attendance at the games, because everyone wants to feel that Friday night excitement under the lights.
Yeah.
But I know that as part of the other executive order that each participant gets 2 people that they can add to a list so that they can watch the game.
Okay.
Which is really tough, because how do you pick those 2 people to come watch you play?
Yeah.
So those 2 right now are things that at the top of my head right now that I can think of that are 2 things that we've been focusing on right now, is to make sure that any drill that we're doing, anything that we have students participating in, that we are following all the guidance that Dr. Ray has had approved through our Board of Education, that's been also looked at by our health department to ensure that our student athletes are safe.
Okay.
Not only in football, but in all of our athletics.
Yeah. And speaking of other athletics, we know we're going to be having spring sports, things like track, there's tennis, there's soccer.
Yeah.
Do you know if there's any sort of different stipulations for those sports?
As of right now, no. I think all sports have the same rules that they have to follow. Now, each sport has their differences because they're different ways that they're performing. So soccer is going to operate their drills differently than a football will, but they have to follow the same mitigation strategies that are outlined by our athletic department. So they'll follow the same thing. It's just they'll plan their practices differently to make sure that students and the staff that are coaching them are safe.
here we are in the Monroe High School cafeteria. It's a little bit empty right now. I'm not used to seeing it this empty, but I'm here. We're still doing lunches every single day right here in the cafeteria. We have cafeteria workers every day working hard to make sure that kids are fed. So how is it that lunch workers distribute meals to the students here?
Yes, very thankful for Sodexo cafeteria workers. So for our learning labs, they deliver breakfast and lunch directly to the rooms, to all of our rooms. So all the students will have a great breakfast and a great lunch and in their rooms.
Yep.
And then for students at home, we have, as we did in the spring, we have lunches delivered by our bus drivers to specific stops throughout the district. And I believe we also have some pickup points as well at certain schools where families can pick up lunches as well.
Okay.
Yep.
So for those students who need to have lunches at home brought to them, how do they get on a list or sign up for that?
They can contact our administration building, or they can just show up to the bus stop and they're welcome to have a breakfast or lunch.
All right. So here we are in the counseling center. I remember when I first came to Monroe High School, I didn't really know what the counselors were or what they did. But now I know exactly who the counselors are. They're a very hard-working group of individuals who work very hard. Yeah. They help schedule your classes. So how do you contact your counselors, and how do you know who your counselor is?
So our counselors are broken out by alphabet.
Okay.
A through L is Mr. Hookrattle, and M through Z is Miss Warnke, and Mr. Hoffman takes care of our 9th graders.
Okay.
Yeah.
So if you need to reschedule a class in the case of an emergency, I remember at the beginning of this year, it turns out I didn't have a second hour. So if you get a situation like that, how do you contact your counselors? What do you say?
So unfortunately, you can't come up to the counseling center and take care of those issues. So the best thing to do in a situation where you need a class or you have a request is you have to email your counselor. And I know that they're checking their emails diligently, and that they will get back with you with what your request is and see what they can do to help you.
All right, that's great. So now that many kids are doing class over Zoom, some kids might be feeling comfortable wearing maybe pajamas over the Zoom calls or whatever. So we were wondering, does the handbook still apply right now?
Yeah, that's a great question. Yeah, we've run into some situations where we have not had the most appropriate behavior on our Zoom calls. Some really unfortunate incidents, but here at the high school, we have high standards and expectations for all of our students, whether they're face-to-face with a teacher or they're on a Zoom call or wherever they are. They're representing themselves, their families, and the Monroe Trojans. So we expect that they handle themselves appropriately. And if they don't, our rule books and our handbook applies to all students in every situation, no matter where they are. Like I said, if it's face-to-face or on Zoom, they're held accountable for those standards. So for those students that chose to make poor choices, our assistant principals will be dealing with those students and making contacts with families. And unfortunately, we've had some situations where students have had discipline.
Okay. And if there is a serious breach of an important rule, what kind of discipline can a student expect?
So we have we have a code of conduct that we follow. And the code of conduct, depending on what happens in the situation, and there's many different situations that could occur, but our code of conduct handles quite a few of them. And based off of the situation, the severity, it could be as simple as a phone call home to the student's family, talking to them about what the situation happened and a warning, or it could be a multiple day suspension. or a trip to our Board of Education for an unfortunate meeting with them. So, like I said, each situation is dealt with on a specific level, and it's investigated thoroughly to make sure that our students are following the rules, that our students are safe.
So right now at Monroe High School, many are taking classes right here in the building in the form of learning labs. Now I myself am taking my classes at home, so I'm not quite sure how they're structured or whatever. So could you share with me and the audience how learning labs work?
So yes, so this year is one of our 3 options that families and students were able to choose for their remote learning was the learning lab. And the idea behind a learning lab was to provide students and families opportunities to cohort within utilizing rooms within our buildings within our district, so that they could successfully go through their day here at school, guided by one of our paraprofessional learning leaders as their guide. So students and families that were interested signed up for a spot, and spots were limited because we figured that there would be it would be high in demand. So families signed up for it, and we again had designated spots within, like for instance, our high school has 16 learning labs, and we have families grouped together, and there's no more than 15 students in one lab, and they arrive like they do for regular school, except each student enters the wing where they attend their learning lab. Yeah. So if they have an A wing, they'll enter at the end of A wing, and they'll leave at the end of A wing. They won't go into the other aspects of our building, so that we can keep everything centered around one area. So if you attend it in C wing, you enter through C wing, whether it be a bus or a parent drop off or a student driver. You enter through C wing and you exit through C wing, and they go through their day following their teacher's remote schedule. And we've got students that might be in kindergarten at Waterloo taking their teacher's Zoom calls. And sitting right across to them could be their brother or sister that's a junior here in Mr. McCluskey's AP English class.
Yeah.
So it's really interesting situation to watch happen. You know, where we've got elementary, middle school, and high school students learning from a learning lab at Monroe High.
Click here to watch the rest of the FYI at Monroe High series, and click here for our most recent upload. Subscribe to be notified when a new video comes out.